I really think that there's an opportunity to be looking at assortment versus SKUs. So you ask yourself, why does this product sell? Is it the product, or is it the product within the context of the category?
Krista Raymer from Vetrina, welcome.
Hello, Jay. Hello, Jeremy.
Sorry about my voice.
You sound
great.
I sound
Yeah.
fresh and like an old man all in.
I found awful. I don't like not being able to talk loudly.
Your entire identity is actually being able to speak.
That and this beard. Krista, you've been to many MJBiz's,
I have.
and you're speaking at this one.
Yes.
What are you speaking about or on?
Yeah, marketing initiatives in new markets.
Okay.
Yeah, thinking through launching in a new market, what type of data, what type of customer base we're trying to attract when we do it, what initiatives we try.
I like it. And we actually had on an operator from Arizona.
Okay.
I want to say, what's it called?
Mysore? Is that?
Mazer.
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 Yeah. Is that right?
But that's the name of her.
Lilac.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know her.
she's the best.
Okay. What is her dispensary called? Good.
I'm not sure.
Hold on, I'll tell you in a sec.
We can fact check, yeah.
Yeah, fact
we
check
have
me.
the.
Oh no, I can't. Oh, Giving Tree.
Yeah.
Giving Tree, okay, yeah.
Giving Tree. And we were saying, I mean, they're like a vertically integrated business, but relatively small. They have
Yeah.
a retail operation, so I dug into the retail for your edification. I was saying, right on this topic, did they go in with a plan for that retail, how to attract and retain customers, and or did they move in, assess where they were, and understand who their clientele were, and lean into that? I think her answer was it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, there's an opportunity to understand ahead, and I think it depends on how you pick a location, how much information you might have already. But if you haven't been operating, also, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Like, we can talk as many times as we'd like about looking at reports and really understanding, but you don't get it until you're in front, your team is in front of the customer base and you hear their feedback. And also, that's all relative to what product availability is within that state, is within the market, and also at what price points. Like, it's not so copy and paste.
It's four-dimensional chess, especially on day one, where you know nothing.
Yeah.
And so what are you talking about in your talk? That it's four-dimensional chess and you know nothing? Or here's how to plan best given information?
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what, because it's two operators, a little bit about what information they use to identify the first sites versus what information they use now when identifying sites, and what things they thought were really important in their marketing plan on day one that maybe now they spend and focus on in a different way for day two. So yeah, it's a little bit of like a, what did we used to do versus what do we do now, and how have our markets both individually matured as a snapshot. Yeah,
That's a good panel.
I hope it's going to be a great panel. I'm capable of putting on a great panel, I believe.
I wasn't doubting that. Who are the operators?
It's an operator called Greenlight, and then Ethos out of Ohio.
Okay.
And Greenlight is in Missouri and Kentucky, like Midwest.
Yeah. Are you noticing, we haven't been over there, but in the retail part of the show, anything interesting that you're seeing, or is it natural evolution of what already existed? And whether from design or technology or products or...
I don't know. I'm like...
You're like, I'm not wearing good enough shoes to walk all the way to the Central Hall.
No, I don't know, because it's also, they've organized it very differently this year. And so, like, for example, retail tech is all in one area. I haven't been to the whole floor yet. There looks like a lot of vape technology.
Yeah.
I think there's always a lot of vape technology, but specifically around, like, disposable vapes, thinking through, I think, supply chain. This is an interesting time to be having this show, mainly if we're thinking about tariffs and adjustments to wholesale pricing. That could be a very real reality very quickly, and everybody just put in their Chinese New Year orders.
Right, we were talking about this a couple weeks back, Chinese New Year orders. If those come back post, I don't know, January 21st, like if there's a 25% tariff on them, they've got at least, or 50%, like they just got a lot
Right.
more expensive, which has to trickle down to how retailers get it, how consumers buy it, but also, like, if that impacts the price overall, if they get 50% more expensive, it impacts the rest of the industry as well. Think about that percentage of vapes go to somewhere else.
Yeah, like, does the customer just not buy them, or do they actually go back and like stay purchasing flower, for example? It's the tech piece, because of, you know, vape packaging as well as the hardware itself versus Mylar bags. There is a level of Mylar bags being accessible within the US at a relatively affordable price. Still is cheaper to have it done overseas, but very different snapshot around cost of goods on the raw, like, packaging materials than for vapes.
Do you think those conversations are they're not happening? I didn't see a panel about impact of tariffs on the worldwide cannabis supply chain.
I mean, I think when we were probably planning the content, I'm not sure that that was on everybody's horizon. But
That's major impacts.
yeah, I'm having the conversation internally with, like, the teams that we're working with. Be like, what does that look like? Do we have backup vendors?
Do we have backup vendors?
But I mean, it could ripple a hole. Based on what you're saying, it could ripple a hole through the entire supply chain. Like, every little piece is going to get potentially 25% more expensive.
Of that vape.
Yeah, right. Of
Or
the vape.
packaging.
Like, how does that? Like, how do you deal with that? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like-
no.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I would suggest that it's going to be good for flower because it's the most plentiful part of the cannabis industry, and it's the one people are most comfortable
Sure,
with.
yeah.
The least hardware costs
Yeah,
also,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. We've cracked
But even
something.
things like accessories.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, it's a good point.
And I like, where is the actual Mylar bag created? Because even if you can get it domestically, is that group getting it domestically? Like,
Right.
are they developing it domestically, or are they bringing it in and then are they basically reselling it? Yeah, it could get very complicated very fast.
Yes, it's probably, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but all of those things could be on one tanker.
Yeah,
And
I also don't want to be like alarmist, you
No,
know?
I think alarm is warranted, especially not so much I think from like the Canada perspective where we're going to have tariffs on 25% of the stuff we send to the States, although that would be devastating too. But if it's 100% on some very specific technologies upon which this industry sells 20% of its products,
Right.
that would be devastating.
Yeah. Or we look at it from another perspective and be like, there's an entire new industry available to be had
Yes.
in the U.S.
Yeah, but manufacturing millions of, I don't know, self-contained vape cartridges, like, good luck with that. I don't know.
That's
That's like turn it downer. Turn it
this part out,
downer.
right?
No, but it is interesting. Look, these are the thought exercises that an event like this is helpful to have because all these people know where their stuff comes from, and the lights too, right? Like, if lights get 50% more expensive that come from China, what does that mean for a grow that needs to swap out lights every, 2 years, whatever?
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I think that every industry is having this.
Yes.
This isn't unique only to cannabis. But it is one of the things where I think if you're in a more mature industry, for example, there are often plays where you have multiple different vendors or you have backup vendors,
Well, even
like contingency plans.
Even Apple, like, moved a bunch of its manufacturing to, I think, India and Vietnam to avoid having to deal with China all the time.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of risk involved in that, especially with the new administration. Okay, this got way off track from sort of the retail and consumer experience.
Great chat.
It's a great chat. Well, it's a living room session, so it can be wide. What are you? We try to ask people a sort of standard set of questions. What do you think is a big or several big opportunities in 2025 that will impact or benefit the industry?
One of the things that I'm very excited about, and I might be living in my own cannabis retail data world, but I really think that there's an opportunity to be looking at assortment versus SKUs.
Okay.
So you ask yourself, why does this product sell? Is it the product or is it the product within the context of the category?
Uh-huh.
So is it that this product sells at this price point and this brand and this flavor, or is it that it's just a slot and it can be filled interchangeably? And I think that getting to a point where we're thinking about inventory and assortment in terms of slots and like what is going on within that so that the data points are relative to each other. A price point doesn't exist by itself, it exists within the context of all of the other price points. Having that level of understanding also gets us closer to understanding if customers are brand loyal. And so there's like two parts. There's how do we make sure that we have the right assortment for our customers? How do we make sure that that information is easy for budtenders to sell? And then the part on the other side that is like not related to the retail side is, do we have a good understanding of like brand engagement?
And on the retailer side, to understand what you're talking about, I'm going to take a page out of the Krista Raymer Vetrina book, like understanding category, subcategory, subcategory. That's the only way to divvy up from the get-go how you even fill these slots, to then understand what's happening in these slots, then understand, do you have the right products in those sub-slots?
I'm going to wing it, but Adrian from my team is probably like, but I think if we were to really look at it, it's like we should be looking at the segments of the business of 10 to 15% of rev. So if you're looking at flower is 40%, there's a lot going on within that category. It needs to be broken down much smaller. Pre-rolls are 20%. Actually, there's like two types of categories within pre-rolls, and that is like if you pull out infused, that's a whole different world. And then you have regular pre-rolls, you have singles, you have multi-packs, very different customer behavior. And so it gets hidden in the data from a big picture perspective. And it's not that helpful when you go to look at like inventory buying or understanding if you have the right assortment.
But setting up these category, subcategory, sub is how you, getting it right the first time, how you set up the structure and the architecture is how you're going to know you're going to get data that is valuable at the other side.
And like how it might evolve and change. Because that's the other thing is maybe you look at for example, a market like New Jersey, you could have subcategories that look different than, say, for example, Missouri. Maybe because the amount of pre-rolls in market, type of pre-roll, different types of infusion even in Missouri looks very different than it does right now in New Jersey. And then if you were to even compare Michigan. So setting up the architecture isn't a one-time exercise. Sometimes it is like, do we need to rejig this so that we see the data points more clearly? Which is not easy to do.
This is the nerdiest conversation we've had all day. And we've had some very nerdy conversations.
Send me help, though.
No, you love this. You love this nerdy talk. But it is, even in the context of the conversation we're having and the talk you're moderating or on this panel, like, you do see how quickly from like get up and go to like day one changes dramatically to day 50, day 100, year 2. Like, it's not static. You're not entering a static market. You're not entering a static neighborhood. You're not entering static customers or the products or the brands. Like, it is a very dynamic industry, even on the micro level of one store.
Yeah, today we were being very nerdy within our team.
Hard to believe.
And taking a look at pricing compression over a 2-year in each market and like what the trend line was in terms of average prices for eighths. Wildly different.
Yeah.
Wildly different.
Like speed of decline or
Did it follow
prices?
the same pattern? Or
yes, and like it's just on a very different rate. I don't know if 2 years is enough yet for us to know if they all follow the same pattern.
Interesting, though.
There's different like kickoff versus you can't put, for example, New Jersey against Michigan over a 2-year period because New Jersey came online.
Right.
You have all these there's all these asterisk notes.
Well, there was no producers
around supply
at the time.
and demand.
Right.
Yeah.
Michigan had a ton of supply.
Right.
Exactly. But how quickly, what times of the year it seems to speed up, it's like, okay, there's something very clear to note around Croptober in, say, for example, a place like Michigan.
Right.
And so how do we account for that? When do we think about it? Like, how do we use this information to think about other new markets? Like, is there a trend line that seems to be true? That was what we were looking at today.
It's not even apples to apples. It's like,
no, but you're like, okay, if a eighth today is $40 in a market, how long is it until it's 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the trend line is we know it's going down. right? Like the trend line is down. It's rate and pace and by how much, but it is going down.
Yeah.
And so how do you bake that into your go-to-market plan?
Yeah.
And actually.
And like Missouri, for example, very different speed. Supply and demand dynamics are very different in that state. So how it shows up, in what ways, how quickly, how customers react, all wildly different.
Well, Krista, usually we talk on Thursdays. Today is Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday.
We'll re-kick it into gear next Thursday. But thank you for stopping by the living room session here at MJBizCon 2024. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck at the show.
Thank you.